Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the RPA podcast. And today I have on the show Satvinder Bamra, otherwise known as Bam. Hi, Bam. How are you doing?
Yeah, Imogen, I'm really good, thank you. And thank you for inviting me as a guest to your new and exciting RPA podcast series.
You are so welcome. You were one of the first ones I wanted to speak to as
Yeah.
soon as I started doing that, and I'm very excited. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak to me.
Well, let's hope I don't disappoint you and your audience then.
I'm sure you won't. I'm sure you won't. So I'm just gonna ask you a few sort of questions, and then we'll sort of finish off with like a few final thoughts. If that sounds good to yourself.
Yeah, let's go.
Fantastic. So Bab, can you tell us about your sort of career to date, how you've got to where you are today?
Yeah, of course I can. So, well, I first came across RPA when I was in an operational management role, or many moons ago now. And like most people of that era, it's fair to say I had a skeptical opinion of this new thing they called robotic process automation, or as we fondly know it, RPA.
Yeah.
After all, come on, Imogen, you work hard to build your own little empire, do you not?
I
And the
do,
last
I do.
so after being involved from an end user perspective, I found myself setting up my own centre of excellence under the support and guidance of one of the best business improvement focused managers I've ever had the pleasure to work with.
Mhm.
Now, this centre of excellence, Imogen, was in the industrial and commercial space of a leading UK utility company.
Right.
And at the time was probably against the grain of traditional unattended automation, i.e. the automations were high complexity and lower volumes rather than the norm of high volumes and low complexity in them days.
Right.
Now, due to industry compliance issues and other high risk performance barriers, my team and myself were assembled and really thrown in at the deep end to ensure RPA was a key enabler,
Mhm.
albeit initially tactical, to overcome the risk of, in this case, license breaches and huge fines, for example.
Mm.
And we're talking into the millions there as well, Imogen.
Yeah.
So at the time, the technical team established were developing some really exciting solutions.
Mhm.
And it's fair to say, really testing the chosen vendor's RPA technical capability.
Mhm.
Fun times. After af- After a very successful phase of pipeline automation, I then joined a world-leading bank in the personal finance space to set up their centre of excellence within the UK. Also having the responsibility of supporting the setup across the PF space globally,
Mhm.
including headquarters.
Right.
Now, it's fair to say this was it was both a very exciting and challenging time. An Imogen where many RPA scars and medals were achieved, shall we say.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
This period, this period in my career, despite being extremely stressful, shall we say, at times was indeed, yeah, it was very rewarding, and I
Mm.
learned an awful lot around infrastructure and key technical learnings that, let's be fair, Imogen, I would never have experienced in a happy path journey to RPA scalability
Yeah,
and success.
for sure.
Moving on, I then moved into the world of RPA consultancy, a short step in my career where it's fair to say the reality was very different to what it said on the tin, as they say.
Mm.
However, I'm a great believer, Imogen, in things happen for a reason, and you will always travel the path you were destined to travel, I suppose.
Mhm.
Again, I learned so much. However, that's a story or a podcast all in its own, I suppose. And we're
We'll
not
get you
going to
in for
go,
another one.
yeah, well, I'm going to have to start charging you.
I think you are. I think you are.
Well, the breaking news is that in March I commence the next chapter in my RPA story. Mate, I really cannot wait. Working for a company that's truly and passionately wants to make their RPA journey a success and not, as bad as this sounds, play at RPA.
Mm.
This passion is backed up with sensible and logical approaches, supported by the C-suite, which is critical, and a strong supporting business case, which obviously speaks for itself.
Absolutely. And I think, like you said, someone working for a company that truly, and passionately really wants to champion RPA journey as a success and work on it, is the best place to be.
Yeah, you bang on the button, mate. You really can't play with it.
Oh, exactly. And so my next question would be to you. So as we know, Forbes published last year that only, I think it was 70% of RPA deployments initially were successful. I know, obviously, we've spoken a lot, over the last few months, about success, how you have successfully implemented 2 centres of excellence within the utility and finance space. What steps and procedures did you take at the time that made sure that these implementations were successful?
I suppose, Imogen, it's fair to say there are so many varied steps, and there will be standardized steps and also unique steps dependent on the journey in question.
Mhm.
In a nutshell, I've learned so much about RPA over the years and how to actually build successful outcomes. Most of the learnings, if I'm honest, I'm going to hold counsel, as
Yeah.
otherwise I'll bore your listeners. And however, try not to bore them too much. But on every journey, I would say start with a small core team, for example.
Mhm.
You don't need an RPA army from day one, yeah, and you need far more than a couple of developers from LinkedIn, for example.
Mhm.
The successful people in RPA will quickly realise you need to, for example, establish key influencers that act
Yeah.
as a broker almost between IT and the business.
Mhm.
Some may call that role, if I was to pigeonhole that role, I'd probably say an RPA solution architect.
Mhm.
Secondly, choose the right vendor for your RPA journey, I suppose.
Yeah.
I.e., if you wish to automate in the attended or unattended automation space, it's critical to choose the right technology. Or as cold as this sounds, the business case is doomed to failure.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
I'll give you a few more than Imogen. Yeah, in your initial pipeline, select the simple, standardized, low-hanging fruits. With the initial automation candidate selected, early success, as you can imagine, breeds confidence in RPA across your organisation, and in particular, senior management, C-suite, all the way down to to your subject matter experts.
Yeah.
Again, fourthly, by establishing the required governance and methodology,
Mhm.
and importantly, continuously reviewing and adapting this as your journey grows, I suppose. That's
Yeah.
really critical as well. You want one more, don't you?
Go
Okay.
on, one more.
Yeah, a final one for now will be, to ensure that you can actually measure the benefits locked into a business case.
Mhm.
May sound simple, but you'll be surprised. You must ultimately demonstrate the benefits of being yielded to the business, or they'll get anxious very, very quickly.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think those are 5 great points, and I think, like you said, those are the 5 main things that people need to worry about to create a successful, COE. Otherwise, you're just going to get nowhere. And I'm sure, that's how what you've learned, throughout your years massively. And my third question for you, Bam, what
Mhm.
would be 2 top tips for anyone who has just sort of started out on their RPA journey?
Hmm. Good question, Imogen. Good question. I'm going to go with one of my favourites first. Then, okay. I think it's an obvious one. Get C-suite sponsorship and buy-in,
Mhm.
and ensure you've ultimately have the key relationships established across the business.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, it's both within IT and operations. The two
Mhm.
have to work in harmony for your RPA journeys to succeed as you'd expect it to.
Absolutely.
And the second tip, okay, is potentially a controversial one. However, here goes. I'd advise anyone looking to embark on a successful journey to listen to the experts,
Yeah.
those that have actually lived the journey, have a wider understanding of the workings of a business and not just technical whiz kids.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is people that have actually walked the walk,
Yeah.
carry that business acumen, celebrated the successes, and learned and evolved from their mistakes. Because it's fair to say, none of us get it right first time, maybe not even second and third time,
Mhm.
but that's how you grow, isn't it? As much as your
Absolutely.
success is from your mistakes, I suppose. Fundamentally, I think what I'm trying to say, Imogen, is do your research and understand the true commitments and costs required to be successful. There
Mhm.
is so much more in this so much more involved in this, sorry, than just developing.
For sure. For sure. Oh, well, that's amazing. I think those two top tips are amazing because I know last time I did a podcast, a lot of people wanted to know, top tips from people like you said who've walked the walk, talked the talk, and who's been there, but been there previously, and been there, done that. So, I mean, that's amazing. So, well, Bam, well, thank you so much for coming on the RPA podcast. I hope you've enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I have. It's been fun. It is. I totally undersold that little bit there, didn't I? No, it has been fun. It has been fun. And
Oh,
and it
wow.
goes without saying, once again, thank you for having me as a guest speaker today. And I wish you the very best with this RPA podcast series. In fact, I believe a potential next recording is with a very close colleague and friend of my own in
It
Stuart, Wiltshire.
is. It is. It is. We've got Stuart coming up. I think we're speaking on the week of the 8th, which I'm extremely excited about. And also, like to say as well, best of luck, with your new venture. And I know you're so excited to get involved with, this company that's really championing, the RPA journey. So I'm very excited for you, and I'm looking forward to hearing all about it.
Thank you very much, Imogen. And again, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Bam. You take care.
And
Speak
you.
to you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.